just gonna come out and say that I think that WrestleMania 40 was the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Nay, the greatest professional wrestling show of all time. At the very least, ever since I've started watching professional wrestling in 2002, I've never been more satisfied after a wrestling show. Great matches, great outcomes, insane surprises. This show had it all. And I've already reviewed both night 1 of the show and night 2, which are available for your viewing pleasures here on this YouTube channel. But today we're actually gonna be giving letter grades to every single match at WrestleMania 40. And I'll do my best to put into words why it gets that letter grade. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And yes, even though WrestleMania is over, even though I'm almost 1 year into posting daily videos, we're not stopping. All right, let's get into the ratings. First, we had the WWE Women's World Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Overall, I was incredibly happy with this match. I think that this had a lot of pressure on it to deliver with how good Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley was last year. I don't think it quite reached those levels, but for its own right, I think it ended up being a really, really good wrestling match. On top of that, we have to compound the fact that Becky Lynch was apparently incredibly sick and she still put on one hell of a performance. Not only was she sick, but this was also night 1, which was incredibly cold, so I can only imagine the misery that poor Becky Lynch was probably going through while still having an absolute banger of a match. I think that this is one of Becky Lynch's best matches in recent memory. This is another Rhea Ripley classic as well. Both of them had fantastic offense, great intros as well. They just all look like $1,000,000 and like megastars. To me, again, even though it doesn't quite reach the echelon of Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, I think that this match was great in its own right, and I'm gonna be giving it an A-. Next up, we had the absolutely insane ladder match between Champions Judgment Day, The New Day, DIY, New Catch Republic, Team A-Town Down Under, and Awesome Truth. And this was a ladder match for the WWE Undisputed Tag Titles. This match knew exactly what it needed to be. It didn't need to tell some grandiose story. We were gonna leave that for The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. These guys just needed to go out there and entertain and give us a beautiful car crash, which was exactly what they gave us. So this thing checks off a couple of boxes. It checks off the box of a fantastic end result because it, one, split the belts, which was something that we were desperately hoping for over the last several months, and two, it gave two really deserving teams the victory, two teams that I think can really help usher in a new era of tag team wrestling, both on Raw and SmackDown. I think Awesome Truth was a great choice to go with to give them their WrestleMania moment, and A-Town Down Under giving two young up-and-comers that can really help usher in a new era, a new face of tag team wrestling on SmackDown in Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. The winners and the decision to split the titles, absolutely brilliant. But then the match itself was just so much chaos. That Johnny Gargano DDT from the outside to Pete Dunne right through a table. We had Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate doing moonsaults from the top. We had poor JD McDonough getting tossed from a ladder through a table. We had Grayson Waller, after winning the titles, getting powerbombed right through a ladder. It was insanity. Even the ladder itself was adding to the drama, as the ladder was crumbling from the weight of how freaking awesome this match was, because the ladder was out there doing the stanky leg when Damian Priest was trying to climb the damn thing. Again, I think that the results were great. What it does for the tag team division as a whole was fantastic, and the actual stuff that happened in the match was brilliant. It gets an A from me. Next up, we have Andrade and Rey Mysterio taking on Santos Escobar versus Dominic Mysterio. I think that this match was really, really good. Andrade looked like a gazillion bucks. Am I right? He looked like such a steal for the WWE. He looks so crisp. His high-flying maneuvers just have this aura of heavyweight behind them that make it not just like these flashy luchador moves, but make those flashy luchador moves look like they freaking hurt. Rey Mysterio looked great in this. It does not look like this man is in his 50s, and both Dominic and Santos demonstrated why they're going to be helping carry the torch for Latinos in professional wrestling in North America. I was a little bit disappointed that the rest of the members of Legado del Fantasma and LWO were initially left out of this, because I really thought that they could add that spice to this by adding all of the awesome fast-paced high-flying maneuvers, but I'm happy to say that we did get that just as an auxiliary to the match, not I guess officially part of the match, because there was so much brawling on the outside. We even had Zelina Vega and Elektra Lopez get involved. We unfortunately didn't get the coveted Carlito heel turn that we really wanted, that frankly would have been a better twist to this match with what they ended up going with, which I'm ultimately still pretty disappointed with, which was the two members of the Philadelphia Eagles getting involved, attacking Dominic Mysterio and helping Andrade and Rey Mysterio pick up the victory. Look, I get it. I understand why the WWE had Jason Kelce and the other guy get involved. They're part of the Philadelphia Eagles. They're in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. And I guess Kelce's a fan of Rey Mysterio because he once got drunk while wearing his mask. That's literally the only tie for Jason Kelce to be involved in this match. I would have preferred if maybe they were involved in the entrances, but not part of the match finish. I feel like that kind of robbed a little bit of the heat in the war that these teams were having. So I am, because of the finish, gonna knock it down a couple points. It's gonna get a B from me. Oh, if you're here, I know you like wrestling, so you're gonna like more wrestling content over on my Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. That's where I post the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else. I think we're gonna do an extra bonus episode over there as well this week, talking about WrestleMania. We also do the Raw reviews over there, the SmackDown reviews. So both the reviews of SmackDown and Raw after Mania are gonna be exclusive to Patreon. So if you're interested, you want more wrestling content, more than I'm already giving you here on YouTube, go check it out. There might be something that you like. The link will be the top link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. All right, back to the video. Next up, we have Jimmy Uso versus J Uso, in which, spoiler alert, was the worst match of all of WrestleMania. But to be fair, it could have been worse. We've seen worse at WrestleMania. So if this is the absolute bottom of the barrel for WrestleMania, you know that this was a really good WrestleMania. Look, the disappointment comes from the fact that this didn't have a stipulation. It desperately needed it. I've been calling for a City of Brotherly Love street fight, cage match, Hell in a Cell, just something to really demonstrate that this is something above and beyond just a regular wrestling match at WrestleMania. These are brothers, these are twins, these are former tag team champions that have now grown apart and despise each other. This couldn't just be a wrestling match. And without a stipulation, it forced them to more or less just regress to their old tag team moveset, which was just a bunch of super kicks for the better part of the whole 10 minutes that they were out there. It was honestly really shockingly disappointing that that was the match choreography that they went with, just nothing but super kicks. They tried a little bit of storytelling in there with J Uso pulling back his kick as Jimmy was begging for mercy, but that was it. Like, there was nothing beyond that. There was nothing at the end. It just sort of felt like it was very abrupt. They didn't develop the story the way that I would have liked to in the ring, and the match itself just it couldn't get away with it just being a match. It needed more. So this is the worst match of the night. It does get the lowest score. It gets a C- from me. Next up is the 6-woman tag match between Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill taking on Damage Control. I actually think that this match was really, really good. I'm shocked at how good every single one of these women got to look in this match, because the match wasn't incredibly long. It was only about 8 minutes. So when you do the math, they only had about a minute and a half per person to really get some offense going so that each one of them could get their little slice of the pie of WrestleMania. But I'm happy to say that I believe that every single one of these women got to have at the very least one shining moment. And when you compile all of the shining moments, I think it gave us a really fun tag team match. I think Damage Control, even though they're professional losers, look like a really good team in this match. But of course, Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill, if they decide to make this into a proper faction, into a proper team, this might be the most overpowered faction in professional wrestling history, because they looked amazing. Bianca Belair looked like a gazillion bucks. We had Naomi selling her ass off and making Damage Control look extra brutal. And then of course the aura of Jade Cargill, who only needed a minute and a half to drop our jaws to the ground. She is going to be a megastar, and this team could really move the needle in the WWE. This is going to get a B because it didn't get to be more than just an 8-minute match with everyone only getting a minute of offense, but with what they were given, I think they did a really, really good job. Next up, we have Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. This match did more for this feud than the actual feud itself. The build up to Sami Zayn versus Gunther, let's just say it, fellas, it was poor. It was not very good. We all wanted Chad Gable. They built Chad Gable to be the guy to get this moment. But to be fair, the WWE did a great job of getting us to finally care about this feud simply with Sami Zayn's entrance as he's embracing his wife and son as he's embraced by Chad Gable and told that he's mentally and physically ready, and then finally being embraced by Kevin Owens telling them to go freaking win. It was awesome. Just that entrance alone got me invested and got me to care about Sami Zayn versus Gunther. The actual match itself was an absolute classic. This was absolutely incredible. When it comes to in-ring work, it was the best match of all of night one, in my opinion. But even though the in-ring work was amazing, it was the in-ring storytelling that legitimately stole the show for me. It was something out of a movie. It was literally like something out of a Rocky movie, as we had Sami Zayn just try to overcome the unstoppable Gunther, but Gunther is just hitting him with everything, every single finisher in his arsenal, but Gunther can't seem to put Sami away. But had Sami not trained with Chad Gable, that would have been enough. But the training with Chad Gable gave him that extra 1% to be able to get that extra bout of energy when he was tired, when he was down and out, to continue to kick out. And in all of those kickouts, it was Gunther that lost his mental edge and started mocking Sami Zayn's wife, and mocked her so long that it gave Sami Zayn enough time to finally recoup, hit some haluva kicks, hit that insanely beautiful brainbuster that we haven't seen since, the good old Generico days, to finally pick up the victory and dethrone the most iconic, legendary Intercontinental Champion in the history of this sport, the history of this sacred mat. Gunther, thank you so much for your incredible Intercontinental Championship reign. You gave us another WrestleMania classic. You turned something that we didn't initially care about, and you made absolute gold with it. This, folks, gets the first A++ of the night. Next up, we have the night one main event between the Bloodline, The Rock and Roman Reigns, taking on Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I tried to warn people that this was going to be a really long match and that it was going to be really slow, probably for the first half or first 3/4 of this match. And I was right. This was a traditional Bloodline match where it was really, really slow, really grounded in realism, a lot of trash talking, a lot of submissions, a lot of rest holds, and it took a while for this to really get going. But I knew not to count this match out because I've seen this story before. I've seen it when they did it at Night of Champions, when they did it at the Bloodline Civil War. Roman Reigns matches always have this incredible gradual buildup to finally get you to this fever pitch moment. And because it's so gradual, you don't even realize that you've been taken on this insane ride. And that's exactly what happened here. We went from 0 to 100, and I didn't even notice that we got to 100 because all of a sudden we were just there. The highlight of this, I do believe, has to go to The Rock. The Rock did so much, not only in the build-up to get us excited for this, but also in the actual match itself. A lot of people said that The Rock was going to be gassed after 5 minutes, that The Rock was going to tear some ACL or some joints. The man looked like $1,000,000 out there. He looked like he could do this full time if he wanted to. But this nearly billionaire, maybe even a billionaire at this point, is out there taking spears. He's making Seth Rollins' offense as well as Cody Rhodes' offense look great by taking stomps, by taking Cody cutters. The man was allowing all kinds of offense on him, even allowing a through the table rock bottom, his own finisher through a table. Bananas. Even took the nastiest spear from Roman Reigns and sold it like he got hit by a truck. The match psychology behind all of this was incredible. It was so good. I came out of this smiling ear to ear, knowing that the buildup was worth it. This was an incredible showcase of what professional wrestling actually is. It doesn't all have to be something technical and a masterpiece in the actual mat itself, like Gunther versus Sami Zayn was. It can be storytelling, it can be a drama, it can be cinema, and it can get you an A++. Next up, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth frickin' Rollins and Drew McIntyre. In my original review, I said that this was a finisher fest, and it was. I went back and rewatched it, and I'm not wrong in that assessment, but it was a really good, really fun finisher fest that was following a very cohesive narrative right off the get-go, as Drew McIntyre hit that nasty Claymore on Seth Rollins in the first 5 seconds of the match, which really set the tone that Seth Rollins is not at 100%. He is not ready to be in there there with Drew McIntyre, who is healthy, who is rested, and has been mentally preparing for this. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins is battered, he's beaten, he's injured, and his mind has been split between this match and the Bloodline match. So he just wasn't ready for Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was so good psychologically in this match as well, talking trash with CM Punk, grabbing his wife's phone and tweeting mid-match. Like, the man, there's a reason why he won the Social Star of the Year, okay? This man was performing social miracles even in the middle of the match in front of 70,000 people. I think it was a brilliant decision to add CM Punk to commentary as well, because CM Punk was, I guess, impartial, but he was hateful to both of them, which was absolutely hilarious, and it really added further fuel to any future feud that CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre might have. Frankly, the feud between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre might feed generations when we're ready to go, because this really set the stage for it. Not only was it a finisher fest, but there was also great psychology between the two, as yes, they were hitting finishers on one another, but there was very clear and visible frustration as Drew McIntyre couldn't believe that he can't put away Seth Rollins with all of these advantages that life has given him up to this point, until he's finally able to finally secure the win one, get the bag, and become the working heavyweight champion that he was so destined to be, finally getting his moment. Folks, we are going to be giving all of this, the entire package, including the CM Punk commentary, an A-. But hang on just a second, don't be celebrating Drew McIntyre just yet, because we also had Senor Money in the Bank finally cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase and become your world heavyweight champion. And it was more than just a cash in at WrestleMania, because they did this in such a great way to help set up multiple feuds coming out of this, because it wasn't just, hey, Damian going out there and attacking a tired champion. No, this was a champion who became everything that he was preaching against. He was preaching against Seth Rollins being too obsessed with the bloodline and not paying attention to the championship match in front of him and not focusing on being a champion. And then what does Drew McIntyre do when he finally becomes champion? His obsession with clowning on CM Punk takes over, and to the point where it makes CM Punk snap. CM Punk attacks him, which that opens the door for Damian Priest to cash in at WrestleMania. So it wasn't just, hey, let's cash in on the tired champion. No, they added layers of psychology to this, poetry, really. This was Shakespeare, frankly. This was fantastic. This gets an A++. Next, we have the Philadelphia street fight between Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits, and the team of Karrion Kross, Akam, and Rezar, the Final Testament. This was in line to probably be the low point of night 2, and it was, but I'm happy to tell you that even though this was a low point, it doesn't reach the low of the Usos, because this was in its own right a really fun match. And the WWE knew that it needed to add layers to this, because it just couldn't put these guys out there that frankly were not having a WrestleMania worthy feud on WrestleMania and hope that the fans would get behind them as a WrestleMania match. So the WWE did this match some great service by putting Snoop Dogg in commentary, who was absolutely fantastic on commentary, saying some of the funniest lines that I've heard a commentator say. But then they added Bubba Ray Dudley to help add to the drama and to the extreme of this match, as well as the special guest referee. And yeah, this had its moments, a bunch of kendo sticks, a ton of tables. We had Montez Ford doing crazy Montez Ford things, like jumping from one corner of the ring to the outside, nearly going through the barricade, a beautiful frog splash through a table onto Karrion Kross. We had the Bubba Ray Dudley moment where he kind of went back in time, put his glasses back on, and directed the Street Profits as to how to do some of the iconic Dudley Boy moves. Okay, look, it's not a classic. It was fun. It was a good break in between that I highly still recommend that you watch. It didn't steal the show, but it didn't slow down the show either. It gets a B from me. LA Knight versus AJ Styles was really, really good. I think a lot of people thought that this was gonna be a boring, lame, slow, drawn out match, but it was none of that, because right off the get-go, as AJ Styles is making his entrance, they set the pace for what kind of match this was gonna be, which was a brawl, as AJ Styles just sprinted into the ring and these guys just started bashing each other's brains in. I think I'm confident in saying this as well, that I think that this was LA Knight's best in-ring performance in all of his WWE career. This man pulled out some insane moves like a springboard DDT, a top rope German suplex that made AJ Styles flip. AJ Styles, classic AJ Styles. This man can do no wrong. He's AJ Styles. He's one of the best to ever do it. He was out there again just doing his thing, having a great match in his sleep, basically. I think the other thing that helped elevate this match as well was how into it the Philadelphia crowd was. They were so hot for LA Knight, basically from beginning to end. And even though there were some problems with production, with lighting that made it really difficult for the crowd to see what was happening in the ring, the crowd was alive throughout the entire match, which really helped feed and inject even more energy into this match. I feel like both guys delivered above what we were expecting from an in-ring perspective, and they told a story that made a lot of sense with the buildup that they had through into WrestleMania. I think that the actual in-ring choreography, that the story that it told, really matched the heated narrative that they had going into this. I really enjoyed this. This is going to get a B+ from me. Next up, we have the Triple Threat United States Championship match between Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. I think that this match was fantastic, albeit I thought that it was going to be better. But that's because my expectations for this match were through the roof. I think that Logan Paul was a majestic human being in this, taking all kinds of offense from Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which was basically a handicap match for the first portion of it. I think Randy looked fantastic. Kevin Owens was great. We had the great little added slapstick joke of I Show Speed being in the prime bottle and getting absolutely annihilated by Randy Orton after getting barked at. Randy Orton hits him with a Sparta kick, then takes him onto a table, barks right back at him, and then puts him through a table. I feel like the slapstick of it really added to it, and now I'm wondering if the Prime Bottle is going to become a yearly tradition. So now I'm wondering who's going to be in the Prime Bottle next year. I think what also made this so great is that there were so many false finishes between the three of these guys that just was flowing from false finish to false finish, whether it was a brass knuckles moment, whether it was an RKO, stunner, pop-up power. Like, dude, this match was just a free-flowing set of false finishes for the last 5 minutes. It was fantastic. I really like this match. It's gonna get an A from me. Next up, we have the match for the WWE Women's Championship between Io Sky and Bayley, in what I thought was a really good feud heading into WrestleMania, probably one of the most underrated feuds, frankly. And I'm happy to report that I think that they put on a WrestleMania clinic. I think that this was a classic of women's wrestling. I think it rivals Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair in terms of what we actually got in the ring, because both of these women were phenomenal. Bayley brought out some old school but also innovative offense, also signaling a future, I guess, innovation of Bayley with a new entrance theme as well. Io Sky was fantastic with her awesome high-flying maneuvers. She must have done like 10 moonsaults in this, but on top of that, Io Sky showed some really fantastic technical proficiency with some of the great counters that she had, putting Bayley into crossfaces when Bayley was coming down with an elbow drop. There was also this awesome moment where Bayley's about to plant Io Sky with a rose plant, but then Io Sky does like a handspring out of it. It was freaking phenomenal. Overall, a lot of people really doubted this match. I never doubted it for a second. From the story to the women that were actually in this match and the skill that they possessed, I knew that they had it in them to put on a WrestleMania classic, and I'm happy to inform you that they absolutely did, in my opinion. This gets an A+. And then, folks, we are on to the main event of the evening, one of the most batshit crazy WrestleMania main events of all time, and dare I say, the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time, and Cody Rhodes taking on Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. I said in my review that this was two great 5-star affairs. We had the first portion of the match, which was just a straight up 5-star match between these guys. They were trading finishers, they were stealing finishers from one another, false finishes, they're going out to the outside and brawling. We have weapons, we have tables in their own right. If all of the crazy shenanigans that we know that we're going to talk about in just a second, if that stuff didn't happen, this was still better than the WrestleMania 39 match, which I already held in really high regard. The actual work that these two put in the ring before all of the craziness happened was a 5-star match, in my opinion. And then we got real like cinematic with it. Things just got super poetic, because it seemed like any time that Cody Rhodes tried to do the triple crossroads to put away Roman Reigns, some specter of the past would come out to disrupt it. For example, we had the first triple crossroads. Before he could hit the third one, here comes Jimmy, hits the super kick, out comes Jay. They brawl on the outside, they're brawling on the ramp. In fact, the brawl on the ramp was better than the actual match that they had at WrestleMania. They go through tables from like what felt like 2 stories, and then he goes again for the triple crossroads. There goes Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns team up to take out Cody Rhodes. He kicks out. Out comes John freaking Cena, evens out the odds, takes out Roman, takes out Solo. Out comes The Rock. Then we have thrice in a lifetime in the middle of the ring. The Rock takes out Cena. Then the Shield music hits. They take out Seth Rollins. And then the Undertaker's gong hits. Undertaker appears in the ring, takes out The Rock, sends him into the darkness of the abyss or something. I don't know. It was insane. And then we had a beautiful moment of poetry at the end with Seth Rollins on one end, Cody Rhodes on another, and in the middle we had Roman Reigns with a chair. And right now we are gonna do a callback to the beginning of this WrestleMania show, where the demons of your past, your obsessions of not letting go with the things from the past, will come back to haunt you. Because rather than taking that chair, hitting Cody Rhodes and winning, he couldn't forgive. He couldn't let go of what Seth Rollins did all of those years ago. The plan B, when Seth Rollins broke up the Shield and hit Roman in the back with a chair. It was clear that Roman, even though he had accomplished all of these crazy feats in the WWE, had still not let go of that moment in the past, and instead decided to finally get his revenge on Seth Rollins with the chair shot to the back. And that, my friends, was Seth Rollins keeping his promise to Cody Rhodes and being his shield. He shielded, literally and figuratively, Cody Rhodes from Roman Reigns. And that was enough for Cody Rhodes to finally hit the triple crossroads that was eluding him to pick up the victory. This shit was masterful. It was incredible. The end result, the match that we had in the first portion of it, the crazy overbooked nature of this, it was insane. The shock surprises. This was everything. This is wrestling, folks. If you wanted the crazy circus side of wrestling and the technical, like, in-ring action of wrestling, this was it. This is the perfect professional wrestling match. It encapsulates everything that professional wrestling is. This is why I scream and why I named my podcast Wrestling is Cool. And it was personally beautiful, and it was the right result. Thank you, Roman, for your incredible service over the past 4 years, and I cannot wait for the story that Cody Rhodes is going to take us on. And I still acknowledge my tribal chief. I don't know how many pluses that is. This was the greatest showcase of professional wrestling ever. Greatest main event, which also takes us into the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and I'm so happy I got to share it with you. Oh, what a night. Folks, I'm done. Get out of here.